This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
Welcome to DBL. Hi, Al.
Hello.
Hello. It's Monday, March 30th. Al and I are here in the studio again, practically alone. But please know that our fellow co-hosts are at their homes, safe and sound. But before we start, Al, I wanted to let you know that it's National Doctors Day.
Ooh,
and at DBL, we would like to salute all of the hardworking men and women who are on the front lines fighting this illness. I also want to include nurses, sanitation workers, truck drivers, all those people involved. You really are the heroes of this war against an invisible enemy, so thank you. Remember, we're all in this together. We want to hear from you, so send us your stories, your comments. Please go to social pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and remember, it's me and Al. And if you've never ever seen the show, this show is all about giving you some information and some good old belly laughs.
There we go. We see you acted that out like a kindergarten teacher. There we go. Yes, I like that.
All right, it's like a Santa Claus. Let's start off this week with some headlines. The coronavirus numbers keep going up, and to help flatten the curve, the president decided to extend the social distancing guidelines until the end of April. He has abandoned his idea of lifting the restrictions by Easter. A lot of people are wondering, how bad will it get? Well, Dr. Birx, she wears those fabulous scarves. Have you seen her at the podium?
Scarf game on 10.
Scarf game on 10. She's from the White House Task Force and had this answer for Savannah Guthrie on the Today Show. Take a look.
If we do things together well, almost perfectly, we could get in the range of 100,000 to 200,000 fatalities. We don't even want to see that.
I know, but you know, you kind of take my breath away with that, because what I hear you saying is that's sort of the best case scenario.
Yes, so we're processing that, but do know that New York City continues to be the hardest hit region in the country at this point. Check out this field hospital that was built practically overnight in Central Park to treat coronavirus patients. I lived in New York right off there. It's amazing. It has 68 beds and is one of a few field hospitals that were built in the city. Meantime, more help is on the way. This picture is going viral of healthcare professionals from Georgia who are on their way to the city to help fight the pandemic. They will be joined by more than 76,000 volunteer healthcare workers.
That didn't make you feel good.
Oh, hope, hope, hope. Mostly retired nurses and doctors who are literally coming out of retirement to join the front lines. I know an 85-year-old in Italy has come out of retirement, a doctor, and said, this is what I'm going to do.
Wow.
Well, grateful New Yorkers have been sharing videos like this one, taken from their windows and rooftops, saying thank you to all the essential workers who are helping us win this war. That'll never get old for me. Finally, check out this picture of a man holding up a sign to thank ER doctors at a New Jersey hospital. He says they saved his wife's life. And I know after doing some research on this gentleman, the nurses and doctors who saw that all broke down in tears on the inside.
And I know what DBL is doing. Y'all not going to get me on a Monday.
Cry.
No,
cry,
no.
cry.
I'm going to remain professional. But it goes beyond a silver lining, Tori. The people that make the most noise, especially when it's negative, get the most attention. It's almost like literally an algorithm.
Yeah.
If you say, Tori, I like your hair, that's not going to rise to the top of my comments like, Al, you were ridiculous today. And so we have to remember what we see is not always the true volume of what's going on. A lot of things like that man pressing that sign against that window is happening. There's just not a camera around to capture it. So just remember, even in our darkest hour, we are basically good human beings out here just trying to fight the good fight. People getting on airplanes, people coming out of retirement when they could be in a hammock drinking an Arnold Palmer. That means something to me, and I'm not going to forget this.
That's amazing. Do you think my hair looks good?
I love it today.
Thank you so
yes.
much. I really appreciate it. Believe it or not, people are still not following the social distancing guidelines. Ay, vejsmeer. And it could have some serious consequences. So Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, decided to bring back its nearly 1,900 students from spring break, despite all the fears around the coronavirus. Well, now nearly a dozen students are sick with symptoms, and 3 have now gone to the hospital for testing, according to the New York Times. In Louisiana, congregants came in by the busload to Sunday's church service at the Tabernacle Church. An estimated 500 people of all ages filled the church, totally ignoring the state's ban on gatherings. Louisiana is, of course, one of the nation's growing hotspots with more than 3,500 cases. Of course, Mardi Gras didn't help that. Finally, check out this farmer's market in Brentwood, California. That's right near Santa Monica. It's an upscale Los Angeles neighborhood, and it was open this weekend and looks to be packed. So I'm not trying to rant on anyone here, but the more beds you take up are fewer beds for grandma and grandpa, and maybe even your parents, and maybe even you. So that's the point, is you don't want to overwhelm the system. What do you think should happen to these people?
I don't know if anything should happen to them. I mean, what are we going to do? Make them wear a scarlet letter? I think sometimes it's almost like when your parents, when you would get in trouble and you were expecting to get a spanking or get punished out somewhere, and your mom just looks and says, "You really disappointed
me,"
and just like that stays with you 30 years later.
Oh,
I think, like, when it comes out, who did what they were supposed to do, who stayed in their place for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks and did what they were supposed to do, and who didn't. When that comes out, when it all comes out in the wash, I think whatever the guilt they have to walk around with will be their scarlet letter.
Yeah, I think so too. And you're seeing a lot of those spring breakers apologize now, saying, "I offer my sincere condolences," and all that stuff. Just please know, beds are important. They are vital right now. Everywhere you look on social media, all anyone seems to be talking about is the Tiger King. Now, in case you didn't know, the docuseries on Netflix is about a number of big cat collectors like the series star. Joe Exotic and his big cat park in Oklahoma. There he is. It also follows his arch nemesis Carol Baskin and her big cat rescue sanctuary in Florida. Now, among those who are talking about the runaway hit are a number of celebrities, like Dax Shepard, who is actually hoping to play Joe Exotic, tweeting, "If I don't get cast as Joe Exotic in the eventual biopic, Hollywood is broken." He even responded to this tweet with a picture of himself photoshopped as Joe. He says, "This is a great first step." We're going to get you that picture when we can. Actor Edward Norton responded, tweeting, "Step aside, pal. You're way too young and buff, and you know it." Now, I promise if you haven't seen it, this isn't much of a spoiler, but Joe ends up in jail, okay? I'm just letting it out there. It's in the first moment of the episode, which is upsetting to some, including rapper Cardi B. In fact, she tweeted, "They did Joe so dirty over and over again. She also has vowed to start a GoFundMe page to free him." Now, one of the biggest unanswered questions in the series is,
Where's
what
that
happened?
guy's neck?
Where's that guy's neck? No, that's not it. What happened to Carol's husband, Don Lewis, her first husband, who disappeared without a trace? Now, to be clear, we want to make clear that Carol maintains she doesn't have a clue what happened to him. She was never charged with murder, but a lot of people think he was perhaps fed to one of the lions or the tigers.
Air quotes.
Air quotes. Cardi B chimed in again on this topic, and she seems to agree. She posted this picture to Instagram showing Joe Exotic in front of a sign reading, "Carol Baskin fed her husband to the tigers. Changed my mind."
Yeah, little sketchy. I think that we've seen, like, if you just watch anything, you just see police work has gotten a lot better. I think there's some questions that were unasked in the 80s that maybe we're asking now in 2020. Interesting stuff to talk about, and we got plenty of time to do it.
We do. And do you believe she fed them to the tigers?
I don't know.
Okay. And I have no idea. Coming up on DBL, the doctor is in. Our medical expert and warrior, Dr. Pyle Kohli, is back to answer more of all of your questions about the coronavirus and, of course, give us a little silver lining. We'll be right back. Facts, not fears, and providing information to keep you and your loved ones safe. My favorite person on earth, Dr. Kohli, joins us live again. But before she answers your questions about the coronavirus, the doctor is going to bust some myths.
Oh, I thought you were going to say moves.
Yeah, and moves. First up is this statement, thank you, fact or fiction. You can get coronavirus from a mosquito bite.
So yeah, this is my version of the mac and cheese or the burger and fries that you guys were doing last week. So that is actually fiction. You cannot get coronavirus from a mosquito bite. It's not like the Zika virus. This one is transmitted mainly through respiratory droplets.
All right, nice to bust that myth. Another one making the rounds. Al, go ahead.
All right, you're just going to read what I was supposed to read. So go ahead.
I'm sorry.
People are saying that disinfecting your body with alcohol or chlorine kills the virus. Talk to us, Doc.
Yeah, so my heart actually stopped for a minute when I heard that one because it is so dangerous to do that. You should not be putting bleach, alcohol, chlorine, or anything like that directly onto your skin. This virus does not live in your skin, it lives in your nasal passages. The only alcohol-based product that you can use on your skin are those sanitizers, which are made with moisturizers and such. So just be real careful because you start doing that to your skin, you're going to get skin breakdown, infections, and actually increase your risk for catching. So this one is definitely a fiction.
This is a myth. She busted that one pretty hard. Finally, is this fact or fiction? Antibiotics do not treat coronavirus infections.
So this is a tricky one. It's actually a fact because antibiotics are designed to treat bacterial infections, not viral ones, and this is a viral one. But remember last week we kept hearing about azithromycin and hydroxychloroquine. Azithromycin is actually an antibiotic, but it's being used in COVID-19 not because of its antibiotic effects, but because of its anti-inflammatory effects. So even though it's a fact, antibiotics don't work, we are making an exception for azithromycin.
When she talks like that, it's like, hey there, Doc.
Yeah.
Cool. Big words.
All right. Let's get to some viewer questions because we got to hear from them. Greg says, I live in a small town, and it seems like big cities are being hit harder. So my friends and family don't really take it that seriously. What can I say to convince them that we need to do our part too?
So, Greg, your town is actually the town I worry about most because it's those small embers at this point that are going to turn into the big fires. The firefighters are already fighting the fires in New York City and the other big places, but it's the small towns where we're not testing, we don't know how many cases there are, that are quickly going to spread. And this is what we're seeing in rural Idaho. And the problem is, if something like this happens in your city, it's very quickly going to overwhelm the healthcare resources because there are fewer resources. So make sure you talk to your friends about the fact that just because we haven't tested and we don't know doesn't mean it's not there, and those embers could turn into a fire very quickly.
All right, nice flame metaphor. Hillary is worried about her 7-week-old newborn. She asks if getting an air purifier will help keep her and her baby safe.
So, Hillary, a lot of people have been asking about air purifiers, and there's special HEPA filters that can actually filter out viral particles. Having said that, however, we don't think it's going to be particularly effective in stopping transmission because we know the main mode of transmission is through direct person-to-person contact, not through the ventilation system and things like that. So it may be helpful for your baby if they have other respiratory diseases like asthma and things like that because it does purify the air, but not with respect to COVID-19.
Awesome.
All right. Like Gabriel is asking a question that I honestly have myself, and I think everybody does. Doctor, please tell us, when do you think social distancing will finally be over?
Yeah, so I'm just going to pull out my crystal ball here and look in there and see. But so my best guess, it at least will be April 30th, as we heard from the president yesterday, because it's already been extended until then. But to be honest, you guys, I think it's going to be longer than that, several weeks longer than that. And the reason I say that is because all of us have to go through that peak, that apex of that curve, and come all the way back down before we can start relaxing social distancing. Because the minute we relax the social distancing, the cases are going to go up again. And New York City is expected to hit their peak in a couple of weeks, and they're the farthest ahead. So the rest of us in the country will hit our peak even later. So I anticipate it will be at least a few weeks longer than April 30th.
I mean, I think that's fair and honest, and you've always given it to us straight, so we do appreciate that. Before we go, we want to leave you all with some good news, so make a sound.
Oh,
this is
yes, Lord.
Hold on. This is the doctor's silver lining.
Yes, Lord.
Reports coming out of China say their air quality is the best it's been in a very long time. Can you tell us more? I heard the ozone layer is actually healing itself now. What's going on?
Yeah, so because we're social distancing, we're not driving, the air quality in cities all across the world has gone up. In China, it's gone up by 22% compared to last year. And in fact, researchers at Stanford have shown that because of this better air quality, they're anticipating that 50 to 70,000 people will actually not die prematurely as they would have, and that includes up to 4,000 children.
Wow.
So by social distancing, we're not just saving lives from the virus, we're saving lives from the environment. We're helping our environment. So this made me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Doc, so would you say that the Earth is social distancing from us?
I think the ozone and the Earth may be doing so, yeah. It's going to become a trend, the social distancing.
Oh, man, the Earth's like, yo, bye.
6 feet, y'all.
Oh, my gosh. Thank you again, Dr. Kohli. You will be back tomorrow, and happy Doctor's Day. We love seeing you. If you do have a question about coronavirus you want answered by the doctor, please write to us on our social media. You can also email info@dailyblastlive.com. And if you want more information about the coronavirus, go to cdc.gov or the World Health Organization's website. And like we always say with that weird shrug, no panic, just prevention and precautions. Dr. Kohli, thanks again. We'll be right back.
Thanks, Doc.
Welcome back to DBL. By now, you've heard about the challenging conditions healthcare workers are facing nationwide. Nurses, doctors, they're sharing selfies like these, sharing their long hours and stressful conditions. Well, earlier, I spoke with a nurse who is on the front lines of the fight against coronavirus. She told me truly how overloaded hospitals can lead to decisions that could cost lives. Watch. Joining us now is Emily. She is a registered nurse in Denver, one of the cities to feel effects from the pandemic badly. In fact, the whole state of Colorado just locked down last night. She has spent the last 7 years in the ICU, and now her job looks incredibly different. Emily, thank you for talking to us. Thank you for being a nurse. Thank you for what you do. We wanted to paint a very clear picture. What exactly are healthcare workers experiencing? So just describe it and paint that picture. What's it like being on the front lines of this pandemic?
Being in the intensive care unit, I normally have 2 patients, and it can get crazy and busy, but normally we know what's going on. I'm there to make sure they're safe and they're getting better. With this, because it is such a new virus, we aren't always sure that what we're doing is the right thing and if they're getting better. And that is extremely stressful. On top of that, we don't have the appropriate protection. So we're running out of masks, or we're reusing them when they're really just a one-time use type of item. And that just makes the whole situation so much more overwhelming.
Wow, talk about scary. Now, U.S. hospitals are not at Italy levels, right, quite yet, but we are not far behind, and I want people to know that. For you, Emily, what does the worst case scenario that we keep hearing about, what does that look like for a hospital and for the workers?
Worst case scenario would be Italy at this point. I mean, they are having to decide who gets treatment and who doesn't, and that might look like your 80-year-old father comes in positive and your 30-year-old daughter comes in positive. And if they only have one ventilator between the two of them, they have to choose who they think deserves treatment. And that is not a decision we ever want to make. But when you think about it, maybe the 30-year-old has more life, and maybe the 30-year-old can heal quicker, and so they'll use the ventilator for less time than the 80-year-old would. And these are the decisions they're making in Italy, and that is what I am terrified it's going to come down to.
And when you say who gets treatment, you really mean who lives and who dies. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Wow.
Yes.
Before we let you go, I want to know the best way we can help you and our local health care workers. What do you guys need desperately?
We need people to stay home. I know that it's not fun. I know that it gets boring, but think of the virus like a burning building.
Okay.
So firefighters are fighting this building. You would not run into the building and make them have more people to rescue.
Yes.
And that's the situation here. When you go outside, when you don't really follow the laws that are being set in place about social distancing, you're giving us more patients to take care of, and you're overwhelming the system. And we want to be able to save everybody. Of course, my God, that's what we're here for. But the reality is it may not be that way soon.
Wow, what a great analogy. I totally understand that, and I think that paints a picture. I want to thank you for sharing your story, for what you're doing. It's important for everyone to understand what our healthcare workers are going through. There's a quote I want to give you that's going around that says, "Not all superheroes wear capes. A whole dedicated bunch of them wear scrubs." I want to thank you again. Now I'm going to go cry. Emily, every time I do this, I cry. Emily, again, we just want to let you know from our heart, all of us, light and love to you, and all the protection we can give you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks. We'll be right back. I got to take control of myself. Yeah, still crying. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
We just wanted to give you one last take. We're both stand-up comics, so you know we both come from like tragedy and like sadness.
Yes.
That's where comedy comes from. But to be honest, what's really important these days is not only laughter, but hope. Hope is really important, and we hope we're giving you some of that at DBL.
Definitely.
Don't
You give me hope every day, girl. I love you.
Give me hope too. High five.
My girl. Air high five.
All right. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Be good. Bye, guys.